Vilnius, the historic capital of Lithuania, saw its fair share of occupation, oppression and genocide during a good chunk of the 20th century. In the 1940s, the Nazis took over from Stalin and murdered around 35,000 of the city's Jews, then around half of the Jewish community in the neighbouring Panerai forest, before Stalin took over again in 1944 and tried to massacre everyone else. The building that now houses the Museum of Occupations and Freedom Fights, previously known as the Museum of Genocide Victims, honours some of the hundreds of residents who were tortured and murdered here by the KGB. The violence may have eased after Stalin's death in 1953, but the oppression continued, and in 1989, 2 million Baltic citizens called for their independence from the Soviet Union. But instead of retaliating with violence, they created a peaceful human chain, 600 kilometres long, starting in the Estonian capital of Tallinn and ending here in Vilnius. The exact spot where the chain ended is now marked by a red tile. Local tradition states that if one finds the tile, with the word stebuklas, meaning miracle, marked on it, and does a clockwise turn on it, then they are granted a wish. The same tradition states that the one who has just been granted a wish as a result should not then go and tell another where the exact location of the tile is. So I won't, and leave it for others to find amongst the hundreds of tiles paving Cathedral Square. Oh, damn! This pacifist approach to life now seems to be a way of life, particularly in Vilnius, albeit with a unique sense of humour and with tongue firmly in cheek. In 1995, for example, what better way to celebrate the city's recent liberation from the Soviet Union than to erect a memorial to the late Frank Zappa? Anti-establishment and American were arguably two human traits most hated by the Soviet regime, and Zappa represented both. The musician and activist never visited Vilnius, nor had any links to the city, but he did represent hope in the 70s and 80s to those behind the Iron Curtain, who wanted to see an end to Soviet rule and who also loved experimental rock music. In 1997, a breakaway group within Vilnius went one step further in celebrating the city's newfound peace and freedom. The Užupis Republic, almost cut off from Vilnius by the river Vilnia surrounding it, is a small bohemian community, draped in original local art and sculpture that's more hipster than hippie, but is no less unconventional, expressive and chilled. Not yet internationally recognised as an independent state, but is humoured by the EU, Užupis has its own president, albeit ceremonial, its own anthem, its own flag, its own totem pole that looks like the machine that allowed Arnold Schwarzenegger to give free breathable air to the residents of Mars in the film Total Recall, and its own constitution. Humorous though some of the points on the list may appear to be, there is a loving and caring humanitarian message underlining the whole thing that maybe the rest of the world should take note of. Yet it isn't just the overall message Užupis chooses to live by. It does seem to want to take every point seriously and put them into practice in everyday Užupis life. Point number 10, where everyone has the right to love and take care of the cat, is encouraged by this local bookshop, where visitors are asked to donate money to the resident Moggy, who has complete run of the place, but sadly has not yet grasped point number 13, where a cat is not obliged to love its owner, but must help in times of need. I asked him for a book recommendation and got no help from him whatsoever. Other feline residents around Vilnius, however, do seem to be very helpful indeed. The cat cafe may not be an original idea, but was the ideal place for me to collect my thoughts after visiting the Museum of Occupations and Freedom Fights just around the corner. One can have a piece of cake and a cuddle with the handful of cats who are extremely well looked after and serenaded here all day with easy listening music. by the likes of Michael Bublé, Sade and Amy Winehouse. Sorry, couldn't resist.